This is great stuff. What an event it was on Saturday. I told you all it would be a tremendous event. A lot of people were belly aching, a lot of moaning, a lot of, oh, it's not deep enough. It's not sexy enough. It's not stacked enough. Listen, if you know, you know. And anytime the UFC comes to Canada, everyone elevates their game. And what about the Canadian fighters going a perfect 6-0 on Saturday? Unbelievable. It felt like Ireland in 2014. One after the next, after the next. It just kept building. It just kept building. It was like a snowball effect, as they say. I learned that in 9th grade psychology. Diana Belbita, Kyle Nelson, Ayman Zahabi, Jasmine Jazdavicius, Marc-André Barriot, Mike Malott capped it off with the big win. Last Canadian on the card, the man who was sitting at the Rogers Center in 2011 watching GSP. Now he's the face of Canadian MMA, at least in the UFC. And Canadian MMA, my friends, at one point, everyone was dancing on our graves. Yes, I said our graves, all right? Now look at us. Olivier Aubert-Mercier in PFL. Look at what just happened on Saturday. There's some other great Canadian talent in Bellator. You've got Arjun Buller, who's about to defend his title in one championship. Slowly but surely, the Canadians are back. And so Saturday was great. And, of course, the last two fights were the ones that everyone was talking about. Charles Oliveira comes back in a big way. There was some talk. Does he have too much money? Is he too comfortable? Can he not beat the likes of Beneil Dariush, had won 8 in a row? What does he do? He freaking beats him and then some. It was never in doubt. It was a very impressive first-round finish. He gets on the microphone. He starts speaking English. Someone mentioned to me on Twitter, I forget who the person was, so my apologies, but they said something to the effect of they were in attendance in Saskatchewan, Canada, when he lost his voice against Max Holloway. Some 6 years later, he's back in Canada, and not only does he regain his voice, he speaks English for the first time on the microphone. The crowd in Canada loved Charles Oliveira. That was incredible. Amazing scenes there. Beautiful stuff. And now it seems like he is going to be next. We'll talk about all of that. Plus, what transpired in the main event, Amanda Nunes defeating Irene Aldana in very convincing, very one-sided fashion. You could throw in a 10-8 or 2 in there. It was never in doubt. 50-45, 50-44, 50-43, for goodness sakes. She retains her title, her 135-pound title, and then seconds later says, "Get me the cut, man. Take off these gloves, and I'm retiring." And she puts both belts on the mat, the 35 and 45-pound belts, her gloves on the mat, and Amanda Nunes walks away. The greatest of all time walks away. Incredible stuff there, incredible scenes. Because let's start at the top. Because, you know what's funny? I feel like in a way, Irene Aldana is lucky on this Monday because she had one of the worst nights of her life. But because Amanda retired, it's taken all the heat away from her, right? Like, no one is really talking about the performance. It's all like, oh, she won. But now it's become, let's celebrate Amanda, as you should when someone retires. But you know what I mean? Like, if you talk about the actual fight, I couldn't have been more wrong. I'll put my hand up. Like, I thought Irene was going to win. I thought she was going to shock her. I thought she was going to outbox her. I thought she was going to drop her, et cetera, et cetera. I could not have been more wrong. Were you surprised by the performance?
I wasn't surprised by Amanda's performance. I was surprised by Irene's performance. I will say, though, this is kind of what makes Amanda Nunes great. This is what puts her in that GOAT conversation, is the fact that she is on the brink of retirement and knew she was on the brink of retirement, and that's the performance she puts in, right? Typically, for the reasons I think you were kind of alluding to last week, talking about this fight, it was, where's her motivation? Where's her focus? You know, it wasn't necessarily that you didn't think Amanda Nunes had the skills. That's why you were confident that Irene would show up and take this opportunity, because Amanda has been doing this for so long. Can she continue to do it? Maybe the motivation wanes. But what makes her great is knowing she's going to walk away, she still put on a performance like that. It's very impressive. So I wasn't surprised by her in that regard, but I was surprised by how flat and not good Irene Aldana looked. It was bad. It was a very bad performance.
What about
There's
you?
No other way to say it.
From the jump, man, you knew she didn't have it. I mean, other than that one moment where she stung her pretty bad in the first round on that counter, I felt like she didn't have one single moment for the rest of the fight, and it felt like Amanda Nunes just got better and more comfortable as the fight went on. I mean, it was really, other than getting caught with that counter in the first round, it was a perfect performance, like a 50-43. Like the fifth round just put an exclamation point on it. I think that was a 10-8. It was incredibly impressive. And in my opinion, it's nice to see, if this is her final fight and if that is the real retirement, it's nice to see a champion go out like that on such an incredible performance. She's happy getting the gloves cut off. She's dancing around the octagon with her family and her children, and she's got beers. It's nice to see a champion go out like that.
Okay, so how do you guys feel about her retiring now? There's always another fight, right? Like you'd always say, oh, John should fight Sergey Pavlovich. There's always another fight. This one, Juliana's upset. There's the trilogy. Does she owe it to Juliana? Does she owe it to the fans? Does she owe it to, or like, F all that noise? She's done enough. God bless. Congrats. Enjoy life after fighting. What do you think, New York Rick?
There's nothing left for her in the UFC. I don't care about the trilogy fight with Juliana. The more interesting fights for Amanda Nunes are outside the UFC, in the form of Cyborg, in the form of Larissa Pacheco, in the form of Kayla Harrison. So
Wow.
If there's a world where Amanda Nunes takes a page from other people's book and goes away for a bit and then potentially asks the UFC for her release and does something else, whether it be boxing or fighting some of these names I just listed, I'm more compelled by that, but I'm not interested in any fights in the UFC for Amanda Nunes. And if she's happy to be retired, I'm happy for her.
Does she stay retired, GC?
It feels pretty final. The retirement she had in the octagon and being surrounded by her family like that, which seems like it'll only be getting larger as time goes on. It feels like it's pretty final. And like Rick said, there's not a ton left to prove. Like, really, I guess the only thing left would be to take that Pena fight. And she is coming off a 50-44, 50-43 victory in that one. It feels like it's not going to keep her up at night if she doesn't do that trilogy.
Yeah. I kind of feel, and even she talked about her leg. I just kind of feel like, these are the two things that we have going against the idea that she's coming back, that this is going to be your typical MMA retirement. Number one, there really isn't anything left for her to prove. Even if you want to bring up Juliana, she can say, well, I beat her. I beat her and I beat her convincingly. But then the other thing is, I think she hates Juliana so much that she loves the fact that she's like, I'm going to just take this, I'm going to put it on the ground, and I'm going to peace out, and I'm going to say that the rest of you are fake from now until eternity. Like, that's her last laugh, in Juliana's face. I kind of feel like she's done as well.
It would be different to me if there was a young up-and-comer on the horizon, right? If there was somebody there that it looked like, if they put together a nice streak, they could become in the conversation for one of the best of this division all time. But it's really just the same names fighting for the title over and over. And this is the reason we've kind of gotten into this position where Amanda Nunes has done it all. Like, she's done it all twice. She's lapped everybody. There's really not a point. And also, she said the same thing that Khabib said, which is that her family, her mother, wanted her to stop, and that's a good enough reason for me. Like, I don't want to see Khabib, and I don't want to see her anymore if that's what is gonna make them and their families happy.
Pennington Pena?
Sure.
It's slim pickings at 35 right now, isn't it? What's a bigger fight, Pennington Pena or Holly Holm if she wins Pena?
Holm.
I feel like Holm, right?
I think so too.
But I feel like they'll go with Pennington just because she weighed in and all that nonsense. Holm Pena feels like a bigger fight.
I definitely think Holm Pena is the bigger fight.
If it's not the next one, it'll be the one after that. So, all roads lead to it. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Holly Holm has that name value as well.
This is one of those that is, the belt is going to take a while for it to feel like somebody's, much like when John left light heavyweight. This is one of those that it's going to take some time before somebody is considered the champion in that division.
Shevchenko.
That would be amazing.
Moving up to fight for the title, you're saying?
Shevchenko Grasso is bigger than Shevchenko Pena.
I saw Blanchfield throwing her name out potentially.
Nah, stay at 125. Stay at 125.
Is 145's cooked? It seems like everyone's saying that. 145's done.
Oh, yeah.
It was cooked a while ago.
I know it's been cooked for a minute. We all get Jedi Goodman's featherweight ranking updates every single week.
Yeah.
But
great gag.
It was a belt only. It was not a division.
We're certain that this is done.
There's no one in the pipeline. To your point, there's Cyborg and Katzengano fighting in Bellator. Probably they haven't announced it. at
What do we do
some
with
point,
Josiane Nunez, Norma Dumont, you know?
it might be, like they were going to get rid of the 125ers and they were cutting those guys, including Brandon Moreno. So it might be the same thing
But
unless they can make 30.
Bellator has that division.
Just go there.
Go to Bellator.
Or PFL, because at some
Or
point just
PFL.
make that-
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's options. It's just not the UFC. They don't have it. It was one belt and not a division ever. Like, it's just not a thing.
What about Charles Oliveira?
Oh
What
my
about
God.
doing that to Beneil, who had looked so good? What about him speaking English? What about him finally winning in Canada? And I can't say this enough. And I feel like it's just amazing. I feel like such an old man talking about this, but like I remember
exactly
when
what you're
Charles
gonna say.
was just this like Charles was like an apex fighter today. Do you get what I'm saying? No
Yes.
one cared. He was and now people talk about it with such love and reverence. It's just unbelievable to me. It's amazing the star that he has become.
He wasn't even just like a winning or dominant Apex fighter. He was just a regular dude. He was
He's
just
like
a
a
regular
500
dude.
fighter.
Yeah. The turnaround, not only the turnaround, but the way he's kind of spit in the face of the narratives about him in the early part of his career is just incredible. Just a jiu-jitsu guy. Now he's just like standing there starching dudes, doesn't have a chin, doesn't have a heart. He's in the fire with every single guy, tougher than them every single time. He's incredible, man. He's absolutely incredible.
He's must-watch television.
Why do you think
he's a
people love him so
superstar.
much? Like, how did he become a superstar?
Swag, the way he carries himself.
So,
He's sick. Like he's like that's like if I was gonna describe him with one word, like sick. He's just a sick fighter. Like he goes out there, he dresses cool. He acts the part. Even when he's not speaking English, the translations illuminated by God. The champion has a name, everything like that. And then when he gets in the octagon, the fights are you have to be sitting in front of the television when Charles Oliveira fights, and it's always exciting. He always delivers, whether he wins or he loses. And then afterward, he's going to cut a promo, and it's going to be awesome. Like, it's from beginning to end, it's just must-watch TV for me.
I'll say winning heals and cures everything, right? Like the fact that he's just on the run that he's on, where everybody but Islam has been dispatched, it's the cure-all. Like the things that he's doing in the cage then allow him to get in front of the mic and say there's, a champion and his name is Charles Oliveira.
it's great.
Everything.
Winning 12 of 13 and having the belt along the way and a few defenses. Yes, you are right, Rick.
Everything
that
stems from that.
Yeah, that does help.
It also, I think it also stems from this. Like he has, to me, the turnaround starts against Kevin Lee, empty arena.
Yeah.
The last day of sports, pretty much before the pandemic, right? There was nothing going on that Saturday. So it was a big time performance. He gets the win, he gets the finish, and we have a little bit of a break, but like that's the last vision of the UFC that we have and of sports for like 2 months, right? This is March of 2020. Then when he comes back against Tony is still Tony Ferguson, right? Like he's coming off the interim loss. That was just the Gaethje fight. So he's still, to me, like that's revisionist history to roll your eyes, if you ask me. But then he has the string of Chandler Poirier and Gaethje fights that turn him into like, a cyborg, turn him into an all-action fun fighter who gets hit and then hits and keeps coming back and keeps coming forward, keeps going. And that just turned him into this superstar. And for that reason, I don't think there's much of a debate here. I mean, Dana said it pretty much. It sounds like they're just going to do Islam versus Charles too. And I don't hate it, to be honest. The only other, option would be if Dustin beats Justin Gaethje. That's in July. They could wait. But then you could say Charles has the win over him. I think there's a story here, though, that is a very easy one to sell. It's a year later in the same spot. He comes back. He's a different guy. He's able to right the wrong, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if he can do it one last time. Feels like the obvious choice. Do you guys foresee them going in any other direction?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they did, and then the winner of Gaethje Poirier gets the shot after that. I don't know. I mean, it's not a tough fight to sell, no matter how the first one went. I mean,
right.
Like we said, Charles Oliveira, like he's just a superstar, and can you imagine the scenes if he pulls it off? I mean, then he will rocket even further into superstardom.
The problem for Charles here is the time, right? Because this fight is going to happen in October. So now it gives Dustin or Justin a chance to make them think. So that's his worst enemy right now.
I think they
is
see
how far away.
I think they see the pop, the reaction,
For sure. Don't
and
get
even
me
the
wrong.
tweets back and forth, the Islam tweet, his tweet, like it's all there.
There's no bad option here, right? Like, let's say Dustin goes out there because Dustin's not an opponent, has not faced Islam. Dustin goes
I would
out
like to
there
see that.
and smokes Justin. His happened more recently, right? Now all of a sudden the chatter starts to build back up and the Charles win feels a little further away and it starts to have some momentum. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that that's guaranteed, even if Dustin does go out there and look amazing, but it hurts him. Charles is hurt by the fact that they're not looking to book this fight until October. That's some ways away. There's time for Dustin or Justin to do something.
And by the way, if he peppers, and I don't say this because he has to do it, it's all gravy. But if he peppers a little English in these conversations now that he's having, like, sky is the limit. I'm telling you, sky. It did. I'm looking for my pencil that I think I've just like swallowed somehow. Oh, here it is. I've seen what it did to Khabib in particular. You know what it did to Triple G back in the day. Like, just a little bit. Now you don't need it. Like, look at Messi. Messi's one of the most famous athletes on the planet. He doesn't speak English. Maybe that changes when he comes to Miami. But you see just on the mic what he said on Saturday and the place. A very good friend of mine, his name is Jason Tackman. Shout out to him. Childhood friend. Used to work for the UFC, went to every single card in Vancouver, and then went to the Montreal card, UFC 186. Also worked for the Canucks, lives in Vancouver, has been to concerts there, says he has never heard that arena louder than when Charles Oliveira won on Saturday. That's Charles Oliveira from a favela in Brazil, and Vancouver is going nuts for the guy. It's crazy.
In February, the scenes from the mall in Australia or something, and he was just getting mobbed. He couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, I mean, he's superstar. And I mean, I know title shots don't always make sense, but he does also have wins over both Dustin and Justin very recently.
No, 100%. It's a great story.
I will, just to be fair, Islam did that pretty easily last time he fought Charles. There's something there that would potentially stick a something in the bicycle tire of this, but at the same time, like, to get the win that comeback way, I think he's done a lot to erase some of the doubt about that. He's also spoken about, like, I just didn't show up. All I've got to do is show up. And when he has a performance against Beneil Dariush like that, you believe that, right? You start to feel that again of, like, yeah, maybe it just wasn't his night, which is a very good skill for somebody who's in high level pay-per-views to have, is to make you kind of believe. It's Conor's best gift. So I believe Charles Oliveira. I believe that he didn't show up his best that night, and I believe the second fight would look different. Maybe Islam wins again, but I believe it will look different. I will say, though, it wasn't close. Islam took him out, and that hurts him, right? Dustin's a guy who never faced him. Now people will be like, oh, he faced Khabib, and kind of draw those comparisons, but he never faced him. So there's things that could mess up the formula here. But Charles has done everything he can do. He's done everything he can do because he looked incredible.
I don't think if Gaethje wins, there's any chance. If Poirier goes out and smokes Gaethje, maybe, because like you said, he hasn't fought him, but I think by then they probably announce it, and I think by then
could be.
They just say you're next, right? Or you could be the next guy in line. I don't know if you'd want to be the backup fighter in Abu Dhabi, but certainly the next guy in line. It would feel very much like, I agree with everything you just said. It would feel very much like, I've said this before, Cain Velasquez, Antonio Silva. Cain smoked Antonio Silva, who just retired this weekend, by the way, thankfully. Long overdue.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's true.
He said that December. He said that
true.
last December.
But he did smoke him in May of 2012 in the first round, 3 minutes and 36 seconds. And then literally 364 days later, fought him again. And that time he beat him in 81 seconds. And that time it was for the belt. So, and it was only one fight in between. Very similar situation where there just wasn't anyone else at heavyweight. And so he had to run it back, even though there maybe wasn't a great demand. This time I do think there will be a much bigger demand for Makhachev, Oliveira 2, as opposed to Bigfoot, Cain 2. By the way, a better chance to beat Islam, Charles Oliveira or Alex Volkanovski?
I think you have to go with Alex just based on the two fights, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was there. Alex was right there on the doorstep of making something incredible happen. So I'd have to side with Alex until proven otherwise.
By the way, biggest takeaway from the Izzy interview? Because there was a lot discussed, but I thought that he has like something with the DDP thing and then the Robert idea. I fear, honestly, like, when does a guy, unless they just force the winner of that fight to turn around, to fight July 8th and then come back and what is it, September 10th or September 11th? Like, that's just 2 months.
Yeah, that's why Izzy's trying to manifest the first round finish, right? He wants them.
Why did they put
badly.
themselves in this situation? I don't understand. Why didn't they just keep DDP for September? It's like they made their lives more difficult. It's not like this
I don't
had
know.
to happen. Should have done Whitaker versus Strickland.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
Just do that fight. They're fighting like the same month. Just do that fight. I don't understand.
But then what do you do with Rob? The problem is always Rob.
Whitaker Strickland.
No, Rob. But like after that, let's say he beats Strickland. Now what?
Yeah, you do. If he beats Strickland, now he fights the
Then
winner
he
of
fights the
DDP
winner of
Izzy.
DDP. Yeah.
Now
It's
you
tough.
got to okay. Here's the thing. What if DDP and Whitaker get into a war? What if there's no one available? Is it going to be? I guess then they do
Yeah,
Strickland
they'll call up
versus Izzy.
Strickland or somebody.
Could happen. I mean,
yeah,
the
I
way
guess.
DDP fights, like,
Yes.
could end up just
Break
being
Get
his
a
Hamza out
nose.
of visa and send him.
sloppy war.
Yeah.
Let's get Hamza on the first plane. Let's solve his visas and get him out there.
Is that a real thing? I don't even know if that's a real thing. Who knows?
Biggest takeaway for me, you asked him about
Yeah.
if he had to bet money on whether or not he'd ever fight Alex Pereira again. He said he would not.
Yeah. Feels like there's a better chance of the Jones fight happening than that one.
Yeah.
Too much.
I mean,
205.
honestly, I would've-
205. Ooh, I need that.
Run Paulo Costa. I'm not mad at that. Let Paulo Costa get the fight.
Costa
We're talking
versus
about
Izzy.
rematch. Yeah, why
Fuck,
not?
the buildup would be
The buildup would be
hilarious.
incredible.
Be so much better than the first buildup too.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, here's the problem. Israel Adesanya gets to pick that, right? Like to an extent, right? He's gonna play ball, but you know, if I'm Izzy, do I want to run Costa back? Like, has he really earned it? But at the same time, if the options are limited, like you could do worse than Paulo Costa. Be a fun fight itself.
Yeah.
The new version of Costa is a lot different than that first one.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
annoying for him that he has to keep doing these fights over again. Vittori again, Costa again.
Well, some of it's like he has to fight on that Australia card, right? That's the problem. The timing is the problem. If they could just say, let's punt it, let's push it back, then there's plenty of time for DDP or Whitaker to turn around no matter how that fight goes, and then you have a fight. But he's got to be the headliner in Australia, so that changes things. He's cleaned out the division, and the timing is tough. So limited options here.
Back to 289. Canadian MMA back. Is there?
On that note, so Jose Youngs sent me some info on some certain comparable things. You were looking for some comparisons.
Oh yeah. About like
like
countries.
streaking country.
Yeah.
Canadian fighters went 5-0 on the main card, the UFC Halifax card in 2014. Rory McDonald, Chad Laprise, I think, right?
Yes,
Elias
shout out.
Theodoro, Gagnon,
Gagnon, Mitch,
and Norden. Who's Norden?
Taleb.
Oh, there you go. So, but apparently the prelims didn't go as hot. There were some Canadians who lost there. Damian Maia versus Ryan LaFleur in Brazil. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Brazilians on that card won. One lost, but 10 Brazilians on that card won.
Fuck.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
That is
10
incredible.
and 1.
10-1.
Yeah, I knew there was a bunch. Like that. Yeah, I'm sure there's more, right?
Those are the ones he sent, but those are pretty good.
Yeah, the Ireland one comes to mind too. Where I was trying to think of undefeated.
Undefeated's hard, yeah.
Is this the most wins without suffering a defeat?
Right.
For a
It's
country?
it's also an odd one because a Canadian wasn't in the main event, and typically that'd be
Sure.
it, right? Like the local
Yeah.
fighter would have the advantage in the main event, but great night for Canadian.
Is there a
MMA.
champion though in this bunch?
I mean, if you're looking at one, it's probably going
Mike?
to be Mike Malott, right?
Yeah.
He's talented, man.
Yeah, Rick's interested in Malott after that. I mean, it was a great performance.
It was a great performance, but so it is worth saying that like all of them were fighting, I think, unranked opponents, or at the very, like no one in the top. 10
Yeah, but it's
certainly.
not. It's not as if these were squash matches.
No,
for
not
them.
squash matches, and actually, it annoyed me when people were saying, "Oh, but they're no."
Most
that's
of them
the
were
way you should have
underdogs.
booked it. That's
Maverick's
the way.
got to be either ranked or on the
Sure. Yeah.
verge of that, right?
And
I think
Jasmine
will
was.
be ranked. Yeah. After this,
I think.
But that's the way they
Maverick
should
was
have booked this. Like, look how we're talking about it. Look how it became a thing. I bet you all those people on Saturday talking about. I bet you the media was talking about how like it's okay sometimes to have these types of nights. You know what I mean? I mean, to a degree, that Ireland night was kind of like that as well. They were favorable matchups for the Irish fighters to a degree. I know there was the Mike King fight against Cathal Pendred, blah blah blah. Everyone's going to correct. Blah blah. The point is, I thought they booked it the right way. They weren't biting off more than they can chew. I'm just wondering what the feeling or what the future is or what the ceiling is for these fighters. Can they, is there a Rory McDonald in this bunch? Is there a Mark Hominick in this bunch? Is there a GSP in this bunch? I don't know.
I mean, we see this with the London cards, right?
Yeah.
It's clear what they're trying to do. Like, they're building these fan bases up and they're building the enthusiasm, and it worked, right? Everybody was talking about how Canadian MMA was on fire. Their potential is not something we need to worry about on Saturday night. We've got time on that. So it just becomes this thing, to what you said, a snowball, right? Now the snowball is rolling. Is it gonna hit something and maybe it disintegrates and they're not future champions? For sure. The likelihood is yes. But for now, it's a magical night, and you can kind of keep running this until you have to stop.
Mm-hmm. No, it's an amazing thing, and it was really fun to watch. It was fun to see Canadian MMA just be talked about, just be
100%.
relevant. Because it feels like it's
showed out,
so
man.
relevant.
Since GSP, it's just been this like revolving door of, or maybe Rory's the last one who it felt like we have the guy, but it was really cool to see. I will admit, I enjoyed it a lot.
This is what I've always said. Don't judge a card before it happens. You can't. I mean,
You've always said
I've
that.
always said
You've always said
cannot
that.
judge
That's your
a card.
saying.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't. You can't do it. A nice comment here from Sean Young on the YouTube. New York Rick should be a promoter. How about that?
Put me in there. Put me in, coach.
Before we get off the subject of Canadian MMA, can we talk about the poutine from Saturday?
boy.
night?
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Well, first of all, can we talk about your pronunciation? Oh, there it is. Oh,
Poutine.
oh my God. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, like the highlights of it. No gravy, sweaty box. The box is sweaty.
Absorbed gravy.
Where's this from? I mean, do we shout them out?
No,
or is
don't
that too
do that.
mean?
Don't
Okay.
do that. Don't do that.
Here's what I don't understand. For weeks, you were telling me you were going to the Canuck.
Weeks. Yeah. Weeks.
I was actually jealous. I've never even been to
Yeah.
this joint.
Oh, I couldn't wait.
By the way, where is it? Because I saw a place. Is it on the east side?
West.
West side. All right. Anyway, and then all of a sudden you show that picture, and I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? And this is a Frank, and it was from a Belgian place? You got poutine from a Belgian
French
place?
fry place. Connor, do you have the picture
What?
Of the poutine?
of the poutine?
Poutine.
Poutine.
Poutine. Well, do we delve into why we didn't attend
Yeah,
the
we
Canuck?
addressed that on the watch party.
No,
The important thing
no.
is-
I didn't hear
Not
it.
that many people
I
were
didn't hear
watching
the
the
story.
watch party.
Also, different audiences. I mean, you can't just assume.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, we had the plan for weeks. I mean, weeks in advance. And how fitting is it that I'm picking up my Tim Hortons that morning? Obviously getting
Nice.
my normal regular coffee from Tim Hortons, some Timbits, breakfast sandwich, everything.
You really go there? Is that your spot?
I have been there before. I do enjoy Tim Hortons. You get the coffee cup, maple
Yeah.
leaf on it, maple leaf lid, everything like that. Quick, easy drive from my house. Timbits are great. While I'm waiting for my food to be prepared, I get a text from Mysterious Frank bailing on me.
Wow.
Plans are off.
Why?
He's got to take care of some cats.
Some cat?
Some cats, yeah. Had to take care of a cat.
Like legit cat?
Two
I thought you meant
cats.
like cool
Two
people,
cats.
like a cat. Like,
I mean, however you want to read it. But,
wow.
Princess and Oreo are their names.
Also, side note, he did reveal yesterday that he was close to bailing on you for the movie as well.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
It's not a
Some
good
things
friendship.
are said in confidence.
By the way,
think
it's
you
not a
know
good
that.
friendship when you
think you
feel
know
like
that.
you're always on the verge of getting bailed on, right?
If I
mean-
remember correctly, you were also like.
yeah, but I
it's
didn't
a
have
Sunday
plans with you
night.
guys. I'm not a part of this
yeah,
plan.
it's a little bit shameless sometimes. I mean, we all know the famous Black Friday. How fitting of a name, Black Friday. He bailed on me for the
Oh, yeah.
USA World Cup game.
Oh, yeah.
While I was on the way to the event.
Isn't it uneasy knowing that like you could literally be driving to the spot where you're supposed to meet and you can get the text or call? Always. There's never any confidence.
No, there's a chance I could be standing, like checking in with the hostess to get seated at a restaurant
Yeah.
and get a text and be like, "Hey, man, can't make it anymore. Sorry."
It's not cool though, Frank, right? I feel like you
mean,
need to instill that
I feel
confidence
bad.
back in
I
him.
always apologize.
I also say, like, you still
Never
showed
once
up,
has he apologized for being late to a place, which
you
is
still show at least I show up to places, Frank. You still showed up to the watch party, so like this, you couldn't have just left an hour.
They were
earlier?
actually not supposed to be fed until 7. and I was trying to squeeze it in.
Who throws taking care of cats on someone at the last second?
Somebody that there's an economy here. So when I leave, I need my cat taken care of. I can't just be like, oh. Look,
So anyway, that's
Also, do
that's-
cats
that's the
really need to
poutine
be
we ended
taken
up
care of?
yeah.
What do they
These
need
are
to?
young ones.
Oh, all right. So that's why you didn't go to the Canuck?
That's why I didn't go to the Canuck. But
with. That's why-
I was like, look, I got you. We're gonna have it delivered. Didn't ask for anyone to pay or anything. I was just like, I'm gonna take care of
Oh, what
He
a
expensed
comment! What a comment! Oh, you expensed it. All right.
this. No, I didn't.
So he didn't
But-
even pay for himself.
Connor, show the picture of what I was picking.
All right, here it is.
No,
Yeah,
no,
This is what he wants me to show you. The manicure.
That's what they. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, this is the taken with a professional camera.
Oh, that
this isn't
actually-
even real.
by the way,
this isn't
that-
even
that
real
looks
food.
solid.
This
That
is
actually looks
artistic
better.
Design.
All right, now what did it look like at the Canuck, the place that I had to dodge that bullet?
I don't know if
Yeah.
this is dodging
Where
a
are the
bullet. I could have had
curds?
a nice moosehead lager,
Oh no.
covered in gravy, smothered in gravy.
Hmm.
I mean, Frank, this
That
is
looks
what we
more
ended-
like a.
This is what we
like a
ended up
roux.
with. You'd rather have
Oh,
this?
God. God.
Please stop showing that one.
Oh my god, it looks
But
so.
taste
that-
People were
It
calling
looks
for,
sick.
for federal prosecution of the restaurant.
It actually looks sickly.
It does. I have to admit, the picture is really bad. Versus
The other
what-
picture you just showed. Look, I'm so hungry right now. I could freaking.
Like 10 out of 10, I would
when
order from that
opened-
place again.
No,
But I-
not that picture. The picture of the previous one that you showed looked fantastic.
Oh yeah. When I opened it, I was like, "Did y'all look like this?" And they were like, "Yep." I was like, "All right."
I'm such a nice guy that out of the 3 boxes, one was on its side, and I took that one so you guys could have the better
So
opportunity.
yours looked worse than this.
Yeah. So when he realized, did it look like that? I was like, mine looked
Any
like
other
roadkill,
Canadian
so-
delights, or was it just fake poutine?
Maybe some
Poutine.
Smarties,
yeah.
some
Some
Aero.
Yeah. Why are you
Maple
being
cookies?
Are you being
Yeah, we had some
facetious?
maple cream cookies. We've actually
Yeah, I
still
mean
got some
they're
outside.
British.
No,
Some
Smarties
stale
era. We
Timbits.
started it. They
Oh,
freaking
okay.
copied
Got it.
us.
Got it.
Obviously the Timbits, some ketchup chips.
Oh, you had ketchup chips. Love
Oh, yeah.
that.
Did we get the
Great.
ketchup chips?
Yeah, I had them.
Thanks for sharing.
I mean,
And we had the maple cashews.
Yeah, maple ketchup.
oh my god,
that
I'm
sounds
so
good.
hungry right now.
Yeah.
By the way, no mention of Helwani showing up on the watch party. I thought
Yeah,
Yeah,
That
highlight
was
of the
all the
night.
time. That was great stuff.
It was great how you invited yourself and everything.
I totally invited myself. Yep, I said.
No, but we wanted you to.
Well, it
invite
was
him.
weird because I
perfect.
said, all right, if Marc-Andre Barrios wins and they go 5-0, I'll pop on for the 6th. Then I didn't get a reply for like 30 minutes. I was like, ooh, I guess they didn't want me. I mean, that was weird. I was like sitting
Did I
around
not
being
respond
like, I thought it was going to be
immediately?
like,
And I said,
yes,
the mallet fight.
exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And I was like, all right, I guess maybe, we're not.
No, my favorite was, hey, Helwani, do you need the link? And you're like, oh, what am I going to teleport in? I'm like, look, man, I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, I know. But I was like, of course I need the link. How else do you
At
want me
this
to
point, Joe was like, did you talk to Helwani? I'm like, I don't even want to talk to him. It's fine.
You know yourself. No, it was a great time. And yeah, we got to let our hair down a little bit. Overall, fun card, like I said. And I feel like we should recap the weekend now. I feel like this is a proper time to do that.
Just quickly.
Oh,
If MAB wins, I offer my services for the stream. Ariel Helwani.
Yeah.
Connor Burks. 4 minutes later. 9:48.
felt
For the
like
mallet fight.
honestly,
Yes.
it felt like a lifetime.
Yes, but only if you want me and it adds value. Yes, absolutely. Please.
And
Let's
this is
go MAB.
in the middle of the show.
Yeah, I'm texting in the middle of the show. I'm pulling a Helwani.
There's,
Helwani.
I mean,
yeah, like he's texting you while you're trying to keep a watch party alive. He's like, hey, put me in.
That's what I'm
coach.
saying. I was pulling a Helwani for Helwani.
Is he typing something right now?
me?
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing with my water
All
bottle. I was just like, I thought it was going to be a quick reply, and I knew there were 2 other people. I wasn't expecting you to reply. You're on the air, but I know there were some.
That's what
other-
I did for you, though.
No, I appreciate that. It was very nice. I felt the love. It was a great time. I liked how Canadianed out the studio looked.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I mean,
Decked it out.
We still got the hat.
You still got the hat. Shout out to Ajax.
The hat's great. Got the flag. Flag still.
Look at that. Was
We
the
got
flag
it.
on the ground? What the fuck, bro?
No,
No respect.
No, this is a table.
You actually looked very Canadian. I don't know if it's just because of the hat, but like you just look Canadian.
I mean, it was probably because I started my day with Tim Hortons and then Timbits and then
The
poutine.
shoey that you did with the
Oh
maple
yeah, the
syrup.
shoe was great.
Why do you
like-
have an Ajax jersey?
Oh, it's just a cool jersey, sick jersey.
Oh, you're just. But are you a fan or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's just a cool jersey.
Yeah.
Thought I'd support.
No, I just was wondering why today. Was there like a Dutch fighter?
No. It's just a cool jersey.
All right.
I only
Why
have
you
so many.
wearing plaid, man?
I only have so many T-shirts. I'm starting to cycle through them. I don't want to, wear repeats.
I was hoping that you'd break out the Lukaku jersey. It's been a good stretch for him.
No love for Lukaku, man. Yeah, I thought about wearing my Joker shirt. My Novak Djokovic.
You have a Joker? By the way, you have like just an unlimited amount of merch. Like, who has a Joker shirt?
A Novak Djokovic shirt.
Oh, I thought
Not Nikola Jokic.
Oh, there's only one Joker in my world.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, 23 Grand Slams. Go. No big deal. Yeah, I mean, it's a big time for Serbia as well. Jokic
Is he from Serbia too?
Yeah, him and Djokovic and
Jokic
are tight.
They're buds?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. I didn't even know that.
They're
They're the two most famous. Yes,
Serbian
I know, but
athletes right now.
I didn't know that he was. They were actually friends.
Yeah.